I need you to stay with me for this one. This is Sandra Hemme, and her case is shocking. She spent 43 years in prison for a murder of a woman that was impossible for her to commit, because she was already locked up, but not how you'd think. She was 20 years old, heavily medicated, and a patient who'd just been released from a psychiatric hospital. She couldn't tell reality from hallucination. But when a librarian named Patricia Jeske was found bound and murdered, the police took one look at Sandra and decided she did it, even though at the time of the murder she had an airtight alibi. A nurse had called the police saying that a former police was in her house with a knife and was refusing to leave. The police found Sandra in the nurse's closet. She was taken back to St. Joseph's State Hospital, a psychiatric facility. To the police, it was too much of a coincidence. Even though she had no memory, her story changed with every interview because she was under heavy sedation in a psychiatric hospital, and there were no witnesses or DNA. They still decided she must be the murderer. So what did they do? You guessed it, they coached her. They pushed her into telling a story that they wanted, feeding her details that fit their theory, and when she said she couldn't remember, they just kept pushing until she did. Eventually, Sandra gave a confession, one that didn't fit the evidence, but they ran with it. They ignored the actual suspect, a man named David Holmes. And this won't shock you, what do you think his job was? Yeah, he was a cop. He had the victim's camera jewelry in his home. He matched the description of the man seen near the scene just a day earlier. And just a few days before that, he'd broken into another woman's apartment. During the court hearing, Sandra did plead guilty, but at one point she said, "I didn't realise I committed a crime until I read it in the newspaper." Despite the fact she was mentally ill, they chose not to file for a mental examination or provide any information about her hospitalisation and treatment. She was sentenced to life. Finally, in 2023, she was freed. It took 43 years and the Innocent Project to finally get her justice. She's the longest known wrongly imprisoned woman in America. The real killer, he wore a badge, and Sandra, she paid the price. I'm MIG, and you've been listening to Told by MIG, the mind they manipulated.